kleine unheimliche Insel hat mich zu einer Waffe gemacht. Wir glauben beide, synthétiser l'étrange affaire de Miller. Changer les noms de cette
Welcome back to trance. Welcome back to trance.
Earn my stripes, 300 tracks in my Adidas track jacket. Bless your ear holes while you react acting. Gobsmacked, don't hesitate to maybe overcompensate. I feel like I was just here, same twitching in my eyes. Don't sleep on a boy who can fall asleep twice in the same night and won't hesitate to maybe overcompensate. I said I fly by the dangerous bend symbol. Don't hesitate to maybe overcompensate. And then by the time I catch in my peripheral, don't hesitate to maybe overcompensate. Where I'm from, I was born right here just now. Originated right in front of your eyes. If you can't see, I am Clancy. Prodigal son done running, come up with Josh done. Wanted dead or alive, so now you pick who you serve. You bow to the masters, get kicked to the curb. For passing the glasses, half empty, half full. Save half of your taxes, then overtake your former self. I fly by the dangerous bend symbol. Don't hesitate to maybe overcompensate. And then by the time I catch in my peripheral, don't hesitate to maybe overcompensate. Days feel like a perfect length, I don't need them any longer. But for goodness sake, do the years seem way too short for my soul, corazón. Way too short for my soul, corazón. Days feel like a perfect length, I don't need them any longer. But for goodness sake, do the years seem way too short for my soul, corazón. Way too short for my soul, corazón. Earn my stripes, 300.
You don't even care about me. Tell me why I care about you. This ain't the movies, but I think that you're the one. Rachel, let me be your Mr. McAdams. Rachel, they gon' call me Mr. McAdams. I take your name, girl, facts. It's insanely far-fetched. I ain't playing why you think I've been rapping to be Mr. McAdams. Say yes. Don't lie to me, don't lie to me, don't lie. You think I'm fucking sick, you think I lost my shit, you think I'm weird AF, but that endearing freckle up on your chin is too much. I got a freckle on my face too. I know you've dated Taylor Kitsch, and I know you've seen Ryan Gosling's dick. Oh girl, I don't know it all, girl. I just wanna take you to a ball, have a ball, girl. Valet will call me Mr. McAdams. Rachel, they gon' call me Mr. McAdams. I take your name, girl, facts. It's insanely far-fetched. I ain't playing why you think I've been rapping to be Mr. McAdams. Say yes. Are you a blonde or brunette? You pull them both off like socks in a bed. Notebook even had a little bit of red. I don't know why I'm telling you about your hair. You would know best, you was there.
Stand up straight now. Can't break down. Graduate now. I don't wanna be here. I don't wanna be here. certain things. What I was wearing, the yellow dashes in the street. I prayed those lights would take me home. Then I heard, hey kid, get out of the road. I don't wanna be here, I don't wanna be here. Can't feel my legs, I might suffocate. There's a pressure in my chest. I don't wanna be here, I don't wanna be here. What's about to happen? What's about to happen? I remember certain things. What I was wearing, the yellow dashes in the street. I prayed those lights would take me home. Then I heard, hey kid, get out of the road. I remember certain things. What I was wearing, the yellow dashes in the street. I prayed those lights would take me home. Then I heard, hey kid, get out of the road. And then he slowed down and rolled down his window. And he said, can't change what you've done. Stop. It's a taste test of what I hate less. I don't wanna be here. Start fresh with a new year. Can't change what you've done. Start fresh next semester. East is up, I'm fearless when I hear this on the low. East is up, I'm careless when I wear my rebel clothes. East is up, when bishops come together, they will know that Dima don't control us. Dima don't control. East is up, they wanna make you forget. They wanna make you forget. Save your razor blades now, not yet. Save your razor blades now, not yet. I'm heavy, my jumpsuit is unsteady. I'm lighter when I'm low. careless when I hear this on the low. East is up, I'm careless when I wear my rebel clothes. East is up, when bishops come together they will know that demon don't control us, demon don't control. I'm heavy, my jumpsuit is unsteady. I'm lighter when I'm lower, I'm higher when I'm heavy. Oh, I'm so high, my jumpsuit takes me so high. I'm flying from a fire, from Nico and the Niners. Whoa,
I'm heavy,
Jumpsuit is on
steady,
lighter when I'm
lower,
fire when I'm
heavy.
low.
I'm so high,
I'm so high,
so high, fire.
what I say when I wanna be enough. What a beautiful day for it, making a break for it. We'll find a way to pay for it. Maybe from all the money we made, razor blade stores, mental race horse, and force a sponsor and start a concert, a complete diversion. Start a mob, but you can be quite certain we'll win, but not everyone will get out. No, no, we'll win, but not everyone will get out. No, no, we'll win, but not everyone will get out. East is up, I'm fearless when I hear this on the low. East is up, I'm fearless when I wear my rebel clothes. East is up, when bishops come together they will know that demon don't control us, demon don't control. East is up.
Okay, so I've got someone just asking what some of my panels are. We like talk most days, and I still don't know his name. Sydney real estate photographer. Genuinely don't actually know his name, even though I get this like terrifying, overwhelming feeling all the time when I see up and coming photographers that I know are going to trying to think of the right word. I'm not even going to necessarily say better, but it's like expand the vocabulary of interior and architecture photography. The thing that I wish the most that I could do is sort of broaden the approach to it all. But I reckon this guy is. I actually don't know his name. See if he's told me his name. What's your name? Like your actual first, like what's your Christian name? What's your Jesus name? Everyone should go and follow him. Because I have a feeling that he's going to step out into architecture and interiors photography, and he's going to murder, because he's worked in the trenches of real estate photography for a lifetime now, which means he's tolerated the worst personalities on the planet as far as like real estate agents go. So his personable skills are going to be unbeatable, and then his speed of operation, the pace at which he's going to be able to work, no architecture and interiors photographer is even going to come close. So like the fundamentals that he has, it's going to be easier for him to learn to be a tier 1 world-class architecture and interiors photographer than it would be for an architecture photographer to learn his fundamentals of like speed and efficiency and things like that. But anyways, he had a question. Where is it? Jason. Cute. The one on the left. So this one, TK9 here, that's a part of the Tony Cooper panels that I bought for like 30 or 40 bucks. The main reason I actually use it is this one over here on the right hand side, TK9 multi-mask, for color grading. It gives me like a color wheel color grading, so I can pick the mid-tones and add some yellow, some highlights, add some aqua and some pink. So I just really like that way of color grading things in Photoshop. So that's the main reason I got it. But this panel also came with it, which I often use if I didn't do a good enough job of dehazing in Lightroom, which I prefer to do my dehazing in Lightroom. But if I have something that's particularly hazy in Photoshop, the dehazing from the TK9. Here, I'll bring up the website. Tony Cooper. Yeah, his dehazing action in Photoshop's really good. So is his glow is really good. Oh, he's got like it's like all of my panels I use like less than 0.1% of. Yeah. Let me just see. Yeah. Does that answer your question? So Tony Cooper, I'll drop that in a DM to you right now. And some of these panels are like obnoxiously expensive, like they're more expensive than they should be. This guy's one actually, I think is probably the best value out of all of them. Lumenzia, no, that's not true. Lumenzia is the one I use the absolute most. So honestly, if you charge like $5,000 for Lumenzia, which is this one up the top right, I'd probably still pay it because yeah, I just use it so goddamn much. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. Also, can't believe you're a Die Hard is Murder fan, which is funny because when I was a teenager, I was in a band and we played with Die Hard is Murder at a club called Rosie's in the Valley. We like opened for them. True story. And they were like super nice, but that's going back. I would have been like 17, maybe 18. I had to walk into the club. I walk into the stage, perform, and then I have to get off the stage and leave the club because I was underage. So we're talking like 14 years ago. Do you wanna hear my band from? I don't know if you're still watching. Do you want to hear my band? Hold on, I can't see you in the chat or anything. Open with art. I've probably seen 40 times. All right, do you want to hear my band? Is there? Let's see if it's working. Someone put it to. This is the only like record of it. Someone put it to a modern. So this was my band when I was like 15 through till like 17, 18.
We just had a plane crash into Level 4 of the World Trade Center.
So how is that not the cringiest thing on the planet? We had, and like, I hate that I still like that we did this, but I will admit that it's the cringiest thing in the world. That the radio audio you can hear in the background is the radio communications going between the police officers on 9/11, going between the fireys and the police and everything, and we just thought it was the sickest. I now acknowledge that it's easily the most cringe thing on the planet, but I still like it somehow. It still works. Here comes the chorus. Are you ready? if I can find the breakdown. One sec. I just realised my mic wasn't on. You need to chat in the YouTube chat so that people can see the actual conversation that we're having, because it's going to be making no sense. But so my brother was the drummer. He was probably the only one of us that was talented. Did you ever know a band called Wish for Wings? They were like a hardcore band. So he was the drummer for them, and they were probably the only one that actually made it semi. Even big's probably an exaggeration, but I wasn't sure whether or not you'd know Wish for Wings. But anyways, my brother, when he was about 19, he actually broke the world record for fastest feet on drums on tell me you've heard of 12 Foot Ninja. No, I haven't heard of 12 Foot Ninja. I'm gonna have to keep. Someone's gonna spot like something embarrassing in my Instagram chats if I have it up on my screen. But yeah, my brother broke the world record. He had the world record, broke the world record. He might still have it actually. Let's look it up. Fastest double kick drummer world record. Let's have a look. Oh, so 2016, someone broke the world record. So no, so Jake did faster. That's really, oh no, 5. Maybe it was the length of time that was unique. So, because it's saying here the world record's 1,037 strokes in a minute. So that's his feet going dut, 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 dut. And my brother actually got over 1,100. He broke it by a fair margin. It's like 1,100. It worked out to be 18 a second. 18.7 times 60. 1,122. I thought it was like 1,130, somewhere around that. Oh, cool. Element real estate photography. Okay, cool. Yeah, so he broke the world record. Fastest feet on drums. It worked out to be about 18 a second. So he ended up getting like sponsored and endorsed by everyone. Zildjian, D-Drum, heaps of people. Yeah, it was insane. Very, very, very cool. But that was me doing the screamos on the audio. Let me see if I can find other one. Please.
I cannot feel this way.
No one's ever gonna watch these streams again. Okay, 12 Foot Ninja. Surely I'm gonna get pinged for copyright, right? If I listen to music, because I was like listening to Post Malone before.
I've been busier than a cat.
Quite a vehicle with a roof or a grandiose ego. You have adapted to the role. Your portrayal betrays your soul. Wherever you may go,
I could get into this for sure. I could get into
your
this.
heart's remain
Because I like Five Finger Death Punch. Five Finger Death Punch. And musically this is quite similar. I actually at the moment feel like the most generic basic white girl on the planet because I've done what everyone's done and I'm listening to country like an absolute loser and I'm enjoying it.
I can see the sequence. Transhuman influence. I'm
What is this music video?
Focused on radiance. To remain in silence. Language omniscient. I renounce the violence. Devoid of intelligence. Evacuate to the core.
What is this music video? Nah, but peep this. Okay, this will convince you on country, promise. What's his name? Colton. Check this out. Peep this guy's voice.
Well, the raven is a wicked bird. His wings are black as sin. And he floats outside my prison window, mocking those within. And he sinks to me real low. It's hell to where you go. For you didn't murder Cade McCannon. When I first met Tom McCannon, I was working in the mines. Said he had himself a
How unreal is that? Yeah, he does. He sounds like Johnny Cash when Johnny Cash was 80 years old, had lost his wife, had cancer, and had been through it. Yet this guy looks like he could be my son in like a few years.
dark-haired daughter with long green eyes. And when she and I didn't meet, she was bathing in the creek.
I've done something with power tools or something. Where every time I try to change window, to Photoshop, it doesn't want to. I've got to minimize Lightroom and it's driving me insane. Here we go, power tools. Oh man, I gotta literally minimize it. Okay, always on top. Let's turn that off. There we go. Let's see what happens. I think that worked. Sure didn't. It sure didn't. Okay, alright. Always on top. Oh man. Okay. Power settings. Okay. Always on top. Always on top. Show border. Exclude apps. Okay. Activation shortcut. Control Windows. Oh wait, Control Windows T. No, that's not what I want. So why? Oh, Hold on, getting a phone call.
Prettiest girl in the whole damn holler, that ain't no lie. So I went a-courting Kate McCannon, got me a job and I quit my rambling. Every day I'd save a quarter of my pay. If I could buy a diamond ring, Lord, and one day I come home to find darling angel's not in sight. So I made for the creek where she and I didn't meet. And I found her with some other lover. Rounds in the Kate McCannon.
I think compute is going to be the currency of the future. I think it will be maybe the most precious commodity in the world. I expect that by the end of this decade, and possibly somewhat sooner than that, we will have quite capable systems that we look at and say, wow, that's really remarkable. The road to AGI should be a giant power struggle. I expect that to be the case.
Whoever builds AGI first gets a lot of power. Do you trust yourself with that much power?
Yeah, I know my mic was off. I was on the phone with a client.
The following is a conversation with Sam Altman, his second time in the podcast. He is the CEO of OpenAI, the company behind GPT-4, ChatGPT, Sora, and perhaps one day, the very company that will build AGI. This is a Lex Friedman podcast. To support it, please check out our sponsors in the description. And now, dear friends, here's Sam Altman. Take me through the OpenAI board saga that started on Thursday, November 16th, maybe Friday, November 17th for you.
That was definitely the most painful professional experience of my life. And chaotic and shameful and upsetting and a bunch of other negative things. There were great things about it too, and I wish it had not been in such an adrenaline rush that I wasn't able to stop and appreciate them at the time. But I came across this tweet of mine from that time period, which was like, kind of going to your own eulogy, watching people say all these great things about you, and just like unbelievable support from people I love and care about. That was really nice. That whole weekend, I kind of like felt.
This is why Scott is the GOAT of editing. He could go toe to toe with the most technical and sophisticated editing that's like outrageously complicated. But there's probably a few editors out like that. The thing about Scott Ruddock's editing is how gentle and sophisticated his hands are. Gentle-handed. I'll just show you some more of his work. Yes, I did just burp into the mic. Just deal with it. The restraint in editing might actually be the highest level of editing there is. How refined and soft the handiwork is. It's just crazy. I'm just going to send him the link so that he can see that I'm talking about him. Go to my channel. Click this. In editing. Share. Copy. Because I actually had to smash these photos out for the client for an awards thing. I'm just trying to find it. I had to smash out a bunch of edits as best as I could. I think I did like 2 days of editing straight, 2 16-hour days of editing to get them done for the client. Just so they could get it in for this submission. And it was the best possible work I could do. And that's when I truly notice the difference. What was the link? Oh, it might be in the Slack channel that I have with Scott. Hold on. Louise Walsh. Okay, alright, so this is the editing that I did. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate what I did necessarily. It's a little bit hard to look at now, but the thing is Scott just makes these decisions that take guts to do. Now, where's his? He's not. Now, the photos he's just shown me are work in progress, so they're still being edited. His the boldness it takes with like his exposures and stuff, it just makes it 1,000 times more publishable than sometimes when I edit. And like, especially when you look at his work of like with Kieran Murphy, he's just got some balls, both Kieran and him, and it just makes the work that much more compelling, in my opinion. It hasn't got some of their most recent stuff. Like, this is pretty close, like far out. That's as good as it gets. Anyways. Alright, back to work.
Felt, with one big exception, I felt like a great deal of love and very little hate. Even though it felt like I have no idea what's happening and what's going to happen here, and this feels really bad. And there were definitely times I thought it was going to be like one of the worst things to ever happen for AI safety. Well, I also think I'm happy that it happened relatively early. I thought at some point between when OpenAI started and when we created AGI, there was going to be something crazy and explosive that happened. But there may be more crazy and explosive things still to happen. It still, I think, helped us build up some resilience and be ready for more challenges in the future.
But the thing you had a sense that you would experience is some kind of power struggle.
The road to AGI should be a giant power struggle. Like, the world should, not should, I expect that to be the case. That'd be like one of the worst things to ever happen for AI safety. Well, I also think I'm happy that it happened relatively early. I thought at some point between when OpenAI started and when we created AGI, there was going to be something crazy and explosive that happened. But there may be more crazy and explosive things still to happen. It still, I think, helped us build up some resilience and be ready for more challenges in the future.
But the thing you had a sense that you would experience is some kind of power struggle.
The road to AGI should be a giant power struggle. Like, the world should, not should.
Future. So there's value there to go, both the personal psychological aspects of you as a leader and also just the board structure and all this kind of messy stuff.
Definitely learned a lot about structure and incentives and what we need out of a board. And I think it is valuable that this happened now in some sense. I think this is probably not like the last high stress moment of OpenAI, but it was quite a high stress moment. Like, company very nearly got destroyed. And we think a lot about many of the other things we've got to get right for AGI, but thinking about how to build a resilient org and how to build a structure that will stand up to like a lot of pressure in the world, which I expect more and more as we get closer. I think that's super important.
Do you have a sense of how deep and rigorous the deliberation process by the board was? Like, can you shine some light on just human dynamics involved in situations like this? Was it just a few conversations and all of a sudden it escalates and why don't we fire Sam kind of thing?
I think the board members are well-meaning people on the whole, and I believe that in stressful situations, where people feel time pressure or whatever, people understandably make suboptimal decisions. And I think one of the challenges for OpenAI will be we're going to have a board and a team that are good at operating under pressure.
Do you think the board had too much power?
I think boards are supposed to have a lot of.
I always say that photographers often fall on a spectrum. At one end is like ultra technical. Technical is probably the best way of putting it. Like has a real deep understanding of the technology and the science of it all. Mike Kelly's probably one of the best examples of technical photographers. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got someone like Sean Fennessy, who to me is like artist first, photographer, interiors photographer second. They are like a genuine, artist. Or David Chatfield is an artist. And then everything else is like sort of secondary to that. There's another... maybe Simon Devitt is like a little bit of a technical marvel. Whereas, and then you've got those two ends of the spectrum, and you might sort of fall... Cillian Murphy. Kieran Murphy. I wonder if Cillian Murphy's popularity has helped Kieran Murphy's SEO. I find that, oh my goodness, that's gorgeous. Holy smokes.
Power.
Smokes.
But
What was that? Kieran, to me, is one of the very, very, very few who straddles the two. Where he is impossibly technical, like has a really, really, really deep understanding of the tools. But then he is an artist. Like, let's find an example of him being an absolute creative genius. The Sushi Room's probably a good one. Yeah. Like, I would dream to be as creative as him. But as I said, he's so sharp with his like actual skill set, his fundamentals. Deeply, deeply frustrating.
And so you have to go through that, as, like you said, iterate as often as possible in figuring out how to have a board structure, how to have organization, how to have the kind of people that you're working with, how to communicate all that in order to de-escalate the power struggle as much as possible.
Yeah.
Pacify it.
But at this point, it feels, like something that was in the past that was really unpleasant and really difficult and painful. But we're back to work and things are so busy and so intense that I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. There was a time after, there was like this fugue state for kind of like the month after, maybe 45 days after, that was, I was just sort of like drifting through the days. I was so out of it. I was feeling so down.
Just on a personal psychological level.
Yeah. Really painful. And hard to like have to keep running OpenAI in the middle of that. I just wanted to like crawl into a cave and kind of recover for a while. But, now it's like we're just back to working on the mission.
Well, it's still useful to go back there and reflect on board structures, on power dynamics, on how companies are run, the tension between research and product development and money and all this kind of stuff, so that you, who have a very high potential of building AGI, would do so in a slightly more organized, less dramatic way
Yeah.
in the future. So there's value there to go, both the personal psychological aspects of you as a leader and also just the board structure and all this kind of messy stuff.
Definitely learned a lot about.
That's a good question, but we can figure it out. So it's looking like I mostly use the 24 to 70 on all these photos. And yeah, a lot of 24 to 70. So I'm going to run you through what millimeter for each of these. So 32 millimeter, 36, 50, 34, 68. I've said this a million times. If Canon brought out a 35 millimeter tilt shift lens, or 35, 38 thereabouts, and charged $15,000 for it, I would buy it in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Okay, so 56 millimeters, 30, 42. So none of these have been below 30 by the looks of it. 61, 50, 45, 38, 43. So it's like for most commonly like 38 through to 70. The most common of that's probably 35 through to 65. 35 through to 65 seems to be the most common for me.
Structure and incentives and what we need out of a board. And I think it is valuable that this happened now in some sense. I think this is probably not like the last high stress moment of OpenAI, but it was quite a high stress moment. Like, company very nearly got destroyed. And we think a lot about many of the other things we've got to get right for AGI, but thinking about how to build a resilient org and how to
No stress, anytime.
build a structure that will stand up to like a lot of pressure in the world, which I expect more and more as we get closer. I think that's super important.
Do you have a sense of how deep and rigorous the deliberation process by the board was? Like,
I think this is probably not like the last. It's decided we wanted to get to a board of 3 and had to find 2 new board members over the course of sort of a short period of time. So those were decided honestly without, that's like you kind of do that on the battlefield. You don't have time to design a rigorous process then. For new board members, and new board members will add going forward, we have some criteria that we think are important for the board to have, different expertise that we want the board to have. Unlike hiring an executive where you need them to do one role well, the board needs to do a whole role of kind of governance and thoughtfulness well. And so one thing that Brett says, which I really like, is that, we want to hire board members in slates, not as individuals one at a time. And, thinking about a group of people that will bring nonprofit expertise at running companies, sort of good legal and governance expertise. That's kind of what we've tried to optimize for.
so is technical savvy important for the individual board members?
Not for every board member, but for certainly some, you need that. That's part of what the board needs to do.
So, I mean, the interesting thing that people probably don't understand about OpenAI, I certainly don't, is like all the details of running the business. When they think about the board, given the drama, they think about you, they think about like if you reach AGI or you.
Okay. I just got a question from Rem. Let's hide all my other messages. Hi, hey, I'm watching you edit and I'm wondering if you point me in the direction of where to learn the fundamentals you spoke about. Like who teaches them in relation to interior photography? I need to learn more, but I don't know where to start. Okay, so you've got a couple of options. Okay, if we go to F stoppers, Mike Kelly, the architecture and interiors photographer, has put out a lot of videos. I'll just say talking about this on screen now. But I'll try and point out which ones I think. Okay, I think they're all worth it. Don't get me wrong. I think they're all definitely worth it, but some of them are a bit more specific. I would suggest the best one would be these two, Where Art Meets Architecture 2. That's going to be geared way more to architecture and interiors, but yeah, so there's that one, and then 4. Those two are really good, and then I don't know if she still does education. Oh, here we go. She says online course. Oh, I think this would be pretty unbeatable to get started. Oh, she even does mentoring. This is okay. I would almost be tempted to pursue this before even where the art meets architecture. It kind of depends where you're at, but I'd see if you could have like an introductory meeting with, is it Natalie? Nat Spader. There we go, the founder of Palm Co. If I was starting over, I would have gone straight to her, and then she would have probably pointed me in the right direction at least. There's an online course, it seems. Yeah, that seems like a no-brainer. And then this is going to be geared towards very professional sort of stuff, but it's got a lot of sensibilities about America and American expectations from both the photo shoot, the photographer, the type of project. So not 100% of everything's going to map onto things. But the thing I like about Mike Kelly's stuff that you can get through F Stoppers would be, it sort of gives you the largest sort of scope and scale of the industry in a sense, of all the directions you could go in. Even in terms of like what you focus on from a technical perspective. So, you know, are you going to lean into artificial lighting and sort of sculpting the light with flash and like off-camera flash and stuff like that? Or are you going to lean into more natural light? Or are you going to go really hardcore on the editing so that it's like ultra technical and a very, very high level of fit and finish that makes it look like it's for like an advertisement rather than an editorial magazine? Yeah, so that's sort of the appeal. I think the good stuff about the really good stuff about the Mike Kelly stuff is it sort of shows you what's out there that you might not be aware of. WO2X, do you use flash in your photography or natural? I predominantly use natural. This was all natural in this one. I've got to be careful because I'm in like sweatpants and I don't want to show my sweatpants. these two. I've got a Godox 400, 8400. I've got an 8600 somewhere, but it's just so heavy that I don't love using it. And this thing, I would say this is, if and when I ever use a flash, this is what I predominantly use, is this tiny little thing, Godox AD 100 Pro. Put it in the chat, Godox 400 Pro and Godox AD 100 Pro. But I reckon I use flash. I was literally talking to someone about this morning. I use flash maybe 1% of the time. No, more than that, maybe 10% of the time. And usually I just bounce it off the ceiling. Other guys are using softboxes. One of the, I think this guy, is one of the best examples of like really, really high-end sophisticated softbox use, where it's almost indistinguishable from natural light, but yeah, I just love his stuff. Oh my god, it's good. But I'm pretty sure he's using like some pro photo stuff. He's using some pro photo stuff for with softboxes. Thanks for the link. Oh, that's all right. I suppose I could drop it in the chat as well, couldn't I? Man, I'm so going to open up a tab on my computer that I shouldn't and embarrass myself at some stage, aren't I? Okay, so that one. Copy link, copy link. I would really see if you could have a discussion and connect with that Nat from the Palm Co, because worst case scenario, she'll be able to assess where your skill set is at, who you should be approaching, what like level of client you should approach, which will then develop your skill set further, and yeah, go from there. Because it's I hate to give the cheesiest, most cliche, most frustrating answer or direction of all time, but the best training, the best way to learn is on the job, is on shooting projects. So the skill is to get projects that meet your level of work and level of skill set, or maybe just like a little bit above, that makes you stretch your legs. And then from there you like upgrade, and whilst you upgrade your skills, the projects upgrade. Do you have a video where you talk about how to blend multiple exposures together? No, I don't. I desperately do, because I think it's like the topic that all of us pull our hair out over, obviously, is blending, is how to do it well. What I need to do is get a project that needs severe blending, really challenging high dynamic range blending, and then just do that all day for two reasons: to show it on stream how I do it, but then also to get my skills better, because it's also the only way you get better at blending is trial and error. So yeah, I need to do that. I am doing a little bit of blending on some of these photos because the detail has been lost in the fabric of the curtain. So I'll do a blend on this one, find what I'm up to. So I'll do a blend on this one once I keystone it because it's horrendously wonky. Yeah, I'll do a blend on this one, bear with me. Okay, what do you say? Nat and I are actually friends. We used to be stylists together. I'm too embarrassed to ask, but I see how much you do in post and I'm just like, I'm not doing this much. I don't know what to say. Well, there's two things. There's a couple of things, couple of responses I would have to that. Is in Photoshop, there is 200 ways to do every single different thing that you could possibly do. There's so many different ways. Like you could blend with a pen, or you could blend with luminosity masks, or you could use HDR in Lightroom. There's so many different ways, and so many people would watch how I do things and would come to the conclusion that I'm doing it in the worst possible way. Whether it's the worst possible way because it takes too long, or maybe it looks terrible. And that's not to say anything about anything other than if anything that you see that I'm doing doesn't suit how you want to approach things, all that means is that you can just do it a different way. And there are so many photographers. I hope I'm not putting her on blast, but I've watched a couple of interviews with her. But one of the best, objectively one of the best architecture and interiors photographers in the world is this lady in Canada, Emma Peter. And just bear in mind, I had to like sort of read between the lines in some answers she's given in interviews and stuff like that. So I could be totally wrong. And she seems like the kind of person that will tell me I'm totally wrong if it ever comes up. But from what I've been able to put together, her post-production is ultra minimal. Like she isn't doing any of the stuff that I'm doing. In fact, Andy McPherson told me that it isn't uncommon for her to not use Lightroom, not use Capture One, but to use Canon's RAW processing software, which is just mind-blowing. But it speaks to her skill set and what she's able to do, but also she's taking the approach of like ultra natural, and her stuff just simply does not look like it's gone through post-production. Sorry, my headphones are just giving me grief. They're telling me that. So if you ever look at like my work or Mike Kelly's work or something like that and go, oh, it's so technical, this isn't what you got into photography for, bear in mind that that's just one section of photography. And I can sort of tell here actually when I look at her work, she has outsourced some retouching, because the retouching techniques used on some of these photos are so wildly different. I can tell on some of these she's used one editor, and on another one she's used a different editor, so on and so forth. Andy McPherson is a good example of artist first, photographer second. So he just tries to shoot beautiful places at the most beautiful light conceivable, incredible compositions, incredible placement of things, and then he's not afraid of grain, he's not afraid of highlights, it's a more fearless approach. He's not afraid of ripping down that highlight slider. He's got a really fearless approach, and it's why his work is so good. But yeah, a really, really fair criticism of my work is that it very often at times looks over edited. And so again, if you look at my work at any point and think that that's too technical, or that editing just that sucked all the fun out of it, all that how much post-production you just did, the answer to that isn't to think like, oh, this career or this type of work isn't for me, because I don't want to do that. The answer is just you're a different type of photographer, or you have a different approach. This guy, I think it's Rory Gardner, and Tom Ross. It's one of these two shoots on film. Someone in the chat, tell me which one it is. I think it's, yeah, it must be Tom Ross, and then I think Rory Gardner as well. I think both of them are shooting on film. So their post-production and editing's probably completely antithetical to my approach as well. So more evidence that anything you see of mine is not reason to think like, oh, you can do that or you can't do that, or yeah, if that makes sense. Oh, Rory's film, there you go. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do a blend, but again, this is not the best example of a blend. Well, it'll be a good example of like a rudimentary blend, because it won't be too challenging for a couple of reasons. All my goal is to bring the texture back into the curtain that's lost, like the little bit of fabric. And then also outside these windows, outside through the blend is like construction site that I actually don't want to show too clearly. So it's not like I need an ultra clear blend anyway. So the purpose is just to bring it just a little bit back in a natural way. Yeah. So, I should probably rewind. So, sorry, with this blend, I'm just going to blend 2 layers. One being, so this is the base layer, or maybe not base is the right word. Like this is like an arguably a deliverable file here. Really, like I could clean up a few things. Not really, nothing really needs cleaning up, to be fair. But like that's a deliverable file as is. But I want to bring in the texture. So I've got the rest of my bracket shots down the bottom here, which you can't see because of the video in the way. I'm sorry. Might just move it almost all the way off the screen. And this one I've just decided is a bit too dark. But this one is probably close to perfect. So if I reset it, you'll see how dark it is. This will be the shot that I use for blending. So that's how dark it is. So I'm going to select the base, select it. I'm going to synchronize absolutely everything. Control, Shift, Sync, whatever the Mac equivalent is. Or if none of my hotkeys helpful, there's obviously bottom right hand corner, there's Sync, Synchronize, Sync. So I hit Sync, and then I'm just going to synchronize absolutely everything. Now the next step, there's a couple of different ways. The thing that changed the quality of my blending, and just about every photographer who's better than me will tell you this, or probably has already told you this, is you want to get the layer that you're blending, the darker one, the one that you're using for the window, you want to get it to look as closely as possible to your main layer, like what the thing, so that they just sort of overlap and blend a lot better. New thing in Lightroom you can do, and by new thing, I mean it's probably been around for about a year now. With the base layer joined, the one that's like the correct exposure, you go settings and then match total exposures. There's a hotkey there for it, Control-Alt-Shift-M, but match total exposures, and then that gets to them to the same exposure or like a similar histogram as possible. So with that layer that I'm going to blend in now, you can see it's like bumped up the exposure 2.69 up to 69. Anyways, I'm going to rip the highlights way down, just so that there's more detail in there. Cool. And then I'll just select both of those, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. I blend with Lumensia almost always for luminosity masks. So I'll just drop a link in the chat for Lumensia for luminosity blends. But real talk, with this photo, and not all photos, but with this photo, because the blend is going to be so rudimentary, if luminosity masks intimidate you, you could do this one by hand. So I've got something's gone wrong. Sorry, something's just gone wrong when I've brought it into Photoshop, but bear with me. You could technically get a half decent result blending this image by hand, no luminosity mask whatsoever. In fact, I'll show you once it's brought it in. Okay. So on the bottom layer here, I'll make these large thumbnails just so you can see it. So the bottom layer, which is like the correct exposure, and then you've got the one for the view. All right, those in the back of the class, can you see this? Cool. Now, if I just make a brush of 10% opacity, 10% flow, it's totally conceivable to blend this in by hand, in my opinion. That's totally conceivable to do that. I'm not going to do that, but you could totally do that. You could just like gently, softly, little bits. Sorry, my Wacom tablet's just spazzing out. Just little bit by little bit. But if you do it that way, you've got to be like a little bit more precise. Take your time, maybe a little bit more. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mask from the lights, from the bright stuff. So up in the top right-hand corner of my screen. Ooh, I should zoom in. I can zoom my screen in. So you guys can see up there, top right-hand corner, you've got Lumensia. And I'm going to pick, and I'll center this as well. I'm going to pick, let's see, L2s. You know what? I'm just going to go for all lights. So that's all the lights. It's making a bit of a mask there that I'll use over this. And now I'm going to mask it just straight onto that blended layer. Cool. So it's blended it beautifully. When I say beautifully, I mean we're maybe like 50% of the way there. I'm going to actually put this blended layer in a group, and then I'm going to hide that group. And then I'm going to use my brush at 30% opacity, 30% flow. And nope, that's too high. And I'm just going to brush it in where I want it to brush it in. Just barely brushing it in. Because again, the point of this exercise is just to put detail back in the curtain. If I bring too much back in, it'll become very obvious that across the road is a construction site. Okie dokie. Now this is, I don't know if it's a trick or what you want to call it, but I feel like this step is kind of crucial, or it's crucial to me at least, with making the blend a little bit more believable, because when you do blend, that blended layer can be very flat, is very flat, looks very flat. And then so the solution to that is this mask that we used for the blend. I'm going to turn that into a selection by holding Control, clicking the selection, and then in Lumenzia, clicking Contrast. You could have done that a million different ways. You could have used that selection and actually use a brightness contrast layer or something like that. But yeah, Lumenzia has that tool. Okay, now there's way too much detail outside because I don't want to see the construction site. Who's buzzing me? Okay. Way too much detail. So I'm actually going to bring the opacity right down to 0 for the view outside. And then I'm going to very, very, very slowly bring it back up to where I want it. Watch this actually. I'll zoom my screen right in. Okay. Peep this. Peep this. Okay, so watch. What I want you to watch is the histogram. I need to make it a bit here. I'm going to pull this out and put that there. There. Okay. So I'm going to bring the opacity down to 0. And as you can see here on the histogram, all this stuff here is like too bright, arguably, depending on your own sensibilities and your own opinion or whatever. But I think that's too bright in that histogram. So I'm just going to very, very, very slowly bring this up. And when I look at the picture with my eyes, I think that's perfect. 30% of that blend is doing what I want it to do. Bring a bit more texture back into the curtain. And I can kind of verify that in the histogram because without it, you've got all this section of the photo very, very, very bright, very loud, very bright. When I have that layer, the blend layer at 30%, yeah, it sort of brought that detail back. So, yeah. I think I should say that like I'm gonna make the effort. All these videos will be, I think, saved to my YouTube channel, so you could technically go back and watch any of these in slow-mo or a double speed if I'm too slow for you. That's just as possible, probably more possible. I'm too slow. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If I just blasted through it way too quickly, you'll be able to go back and watch it. Sound good? Sound good. Okay, I'll get rid of that one. I want to get rid of that.
You reach some of these incredibly impactful products and you build them and deploy them. What's the conversation with the board like? And they kind of think, all right, what's the right squad to have in that kind of situation to deliberate?
Look, I think you definitely need some technical experts there. And then you need some people who are like, how can we deploy this in a way that will help people in the world the most, and people who have a very different perspective. I think a mistake that you or I might make is to think that only the technical understanding matters. And that's definitely part of the conversation you want that board to have. But there's a lot more about how that's going to just like impact society and people's lives that you really want represented in there too.
And you're just kind of, are you looking at the track record of people, or you're just having conversations?
Track record is a big deal. You of course have a lot of conversations, but there's some roles where I kind of totally ignore track record and just look at slope, kind of ignore the y-intercept.
Thank you for making it mathematical for the audience.
For a board member, like I do care much more about the y-intercept. Like I think there is something deep to say about track record there, and experience is sometimes very hard to replace.
Do you try to fit a polynomial function or exponential one to the track record?
That's not that. An analogy doesn't carry that far.
All right. You mentioned some of the low points that weekend. What were some of the low points psychologically for you? Did you consider going to the Amazon jungle and just taking ayahuasca and disappearing forever? Or,
I mean, there's so many like it was a very bad period of time. There were great high points too. Like my phone was just like sort of nonstop blowing up with nice messages from people I work with every day, people I hadn't talked to in a decade. I didn't get to like appreciate that as much as I should have because I was just like in the middle of this firefight, but that was really nice. But on the whole, it was like a very painful weekend, and also just like it was like a battle fought in public to a surprising degree, and that was extremely exhausting to me, much more than I expected. I think fights are generally exhausting, but this one really was. You know, the board did this Friday afternoon. I really couldn't get much in the way of answers, but I also was just like, well, the board gets to do this, and so I'm gonna think for a little bit about what I want to do, but I'll try to find the blessing in disguise here. And I was like, well, my current job at OpenAI is, or it was, like to like run a decently sized company at this point. And the thing I'd always liked the most was just getting to like work with the researchers. And I was like, yeah, I can just go do like a very focused AGI research effort. And I got excited about that. It didn't even occur to me at the time to like possibly that this was all going to get undone. This was like Friday afternoon.
Oh, so you've accepted the death
very
of this
quickly, very quickly. Like within, I went through like a little period of confusion and rage, but very quickly. And by Friday night, I was like talking to people about what was gonna be next, and I was excited about that. I think it was Friday evening for the first time that I heard from the exec team here, which is like, hey, we're gonna like fight this, and we think whatever. And then I went to bed just still being like, okay, excited, like onward.
Were you able to sleep?
Not a lot. It was one of the weird things was this like period of 4.5 days where sort of didn't sleep much, didn't eat much, and still kind of had like a surprising amount of energy. You learn like a weird thing about adrenaline in wartime.
So you kind of accepted the death of this baby opening.
And I was excited for the new thing. I was just like, okay, this was crazy, but whatever.
It's a very good coping mechanism.
And then Saturday morning, two of the board members called and said, hey, we didn't mean to destabilize things. We don't want to destroy a lot of value here. Can we talk about you coming back? And I immediately didn't want to do that, but I thought a little more, and I was like, well, I really care about the people here, the partners, shareholders, like I love this company. And so I thought about it, and I was like, well, okay, but like here's the stuff I would need. And then the most painful time of all was over the course of that weekend. I kept thinking and being told, and we all kept, not just me, like the whole team here kept thinking, while we were trying to like keep OpenAI stabilized while the whole world was trying to break it apart, people trying to recruit, whatever. We kept being told like, all right, we're almost done. We just need like a little bit more time. And it was this like very confusing state. And then Sunday evening, when again, like every few hours, I expected that we were going to be done and we're going to like figure out a way for me to return and things to go back to how they were. The board then appointed a new interim CEO. And then I was like, that feels really bad. That was the low point of the whole thing. I'll tell you something. It felt very painful, but I felt a lot of love that whole weekend. Mm-hmm. It was not, other than that one moment Sunday night, I would not characterize my emotions as anger or hate. But I really just I felt a lot of love from people towards people. It was like painful, but it was like the dominant emotion of the weekend was love, not hate.
You've spoken highly of Mira Murati, that she helped, especially, as you put in a tweet, in the quiet moments when it counts. Perhaps we could take a bit of a tangent. What do you admire about Mira?
Well, she did a great job during that weekend in a lot of chaos, but people often see leaders in the moment, in like the crisis moments, good or bad. But a thing I really value in leaders is how people act on a boring Tuesday at 9:46 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And in just sort of the normal drudgery of the day-to-day. How someone shows up in a meeting, the quality of the decisions they make. That was what I meant about the quiet moments.
Meaning like most of the work is done on a day by day in the meeting by meeting, just be present and make great decisions.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
you
look,
said.
what you have wanted to spend the last 20 minutes about, and I understand, is like this one very dramatic weekend.
Yeah.
But that's not really what OpenAI is about. OpenAI is really about the other 7 years.
Well, yeah, human civilization is not about the invasion of the Soviet Union by Nazi Germany, but still, that's something people
Totally.
focus on
Very,
because
very understandable.
it gives us an insight into human nature, the extremes of human nature, and perhaps some of the damage and some of the triumphs of human civilization can happen in those moments. So it's like illustrative. Let me ask you about Ilya. Is he being held hostage in a secret nuclear facility?
No,
What about a regular secret facility?
no,
What about a nuclear non-secret facility?
neither of that,
Okay.
not that either.
I mean, this is becoming a meme at some point. You've known Ilya for a long time. He was obviously in part of this drama with the board and all that kind of stuff. What's your relationship with him now?
I love Ilya. I have tremendous respect for Ilya. I don't have anything I can like say about his plans right now. That's a question for him. But I really hope we work together for, certainly the rest of my career. He's a little bit younger than me. Maybe he works a little bit longer.
There's a meme that he saw something, like he maybe saw AGI, and that gave him a lot of worry internally. What did Ilya see?
Ilya has not seen AGI. None of us have seen AGI. We've not built AGI. I do think one of the many things that I really love about Ilya is he takes AGI and the safety concerns, broadly speaking, including things like the impact this is going to have on society, very seriously. And as we continue to make significant progress, Ilya is one of the people that I've spent the most time over the last couple of years talking about what this is going to mean, what we need to do to ensure we get it right, to ensure that we succeed at the mission. So Ilya did not see AGI, but Ilya is a credit to humanity in terms of how much he thinks and worries about making sure we get this right.
I've had a bunch of conversation with him in the past. I think when he talks about technology, he's always like doing this long-term thinking type of thing. So he's not thinking about what this is going to be in a year. He's thinking about in 10 years.
Yeah.
Just thinking from first principles, like, okay, if this scales, what are the fundamentals here? Where's this going? And so that's a foundation for them thinking about like all the other safety concerns and all that kind of stuff, which makes him a really fascinating human to talk with. Do you have any idea why he's been kind of quiet? Is it he's just doing some soul searching?
Again, I don't want to like speak for Ilya.
Mhm.
I think that you should ask him that. He's definitely a thoughtful guy. I kind of think of Ilya as like always on a soul search in a really good way.
Yes. Yeah. Also, he appreciates the power of silence. Also, I'm told he can be a silly guy, which I've never seen that side of him.
It's very sweet when that happens.
I've never witnessed a silly Ilya, but I look forward to that as well.
I was at a dinner party with him recently, and he was playing with a puppy, and he was like in a very silly mood, very endearing, and I was thinking like, oh man, this is like not the side of the Ilya that the world sees the most.
So just to wrap up this whole saga, are you feeling good about the board structure,
Yes.
about all of this, and like where it's moving?
I feel great about the new board. In terms of the structure of OpenAI, one of the board's tasks is to look at that and see where we can make it more robust. We wanted to get new board members in place first, but we clearly learned a lesson about structure throughout this process. I don't have, I think, super deep things to say. It was a crazy, very painful experience. I think it was like a perfect storm of weirdness. It was like a preview for me of what's going to happen as the stakes get higher and higher, and the need that we have like robust governance structures and processes and people. I am kind of happy it happened when it did, but it was a shockingly painful thing to go through.
Did it make you be more hesitant in trusting people?
Yes.
just on a personal level?
Yes. I think I'm like an extremely trusting person. I've always had a life philosophy of, like, don't worry about all of the paranoia. Don't worry about the edge cases. You get a little bit screwed in exchange for getting to live with your guard down. And this was so shocking to me. I was so caught off guard that it has definitely changed. And I really don't like this. It's definitely changed how I think about just like default trust of people and planning for the bad scenarios.
You got to be careful with that. Are you worried about becoming a little too cynical?
I'm not worried about becoming too cynical. I think I'm like the extreme opposite of a cynical person, but I'm worried about just becoming like less of a default trusting person.
I'm actually not sure which mode is best to operate in for a person who's developing AGI. Trusting or untrusting. It's an interesting journey you're on. But in terms of structure, see, I'm more interested on the human level. Like, how do you surround yourself with humans that are building cool shit, but also are making wise decisions? Because the more money you start making, the more power the thing has, the weirder people get.
I think you could make all kinds of comments about the board members and the level of trust I should have had there or how I should have done things differently. But in terms of the team here, I think you'd have to give me a very good grade on that one. And I have just enormous gratitude and trust and respect for the people that I work with every day. And I think being surrounded with people like that is really important.
Our mutual friend Elon sued OpenAI. What to you is the essence of what he's criticizing? To what degree does he have a point? To what degree is he wrong?
I don't know what it's really about. We started off just thinking we were going to be a research lab and having no idea about how this technology was going to go. It's hard to, because it was only 7 or 8 years ago, it's hard to go back and really remember what it was like then. But this was before language models were a big deal. This was before we had any idea about an API or selling access to a chatbot. This was before we had any idea we were going to productize it all. So we're we're just going to try to do research, and we don't really know what we're going to do with that. I think with many fundamentally new things, you start fumbling through the dark and you make some assumptions, most of which turn out to be wrong. And then it became clear that we were going to need to do different things and also have huge amounts more capital. So we said, okay, well, the structure doesn't quite work for that. How do we patch the structure? And then you patch it again, and you end up with something that does look kind of eyebrow raising, to say the least. But we got here gradually with, I think, reasonable decisions at each point along the way. And doesn't mean I wouldn't do it totally differently if we could go back now with an oracle, but you don't get the oracle at the time. But anyway, in terms of what Elon's real motivations here are, I don't know.
To the degree you remember, what was the response that OpenAI gave in the blog post? Can you summarize it?
Oh, we just said Elon said this set of things. Here's our characterization, or here's the sort of, not our characterization, here's the characterization of how this went down. We tried to not make it emotional and just sort of say here's the history.
I do think there's a degree of mischaracterization from Elon here about one of the points you just made, which is the degree of uncertainty you had at the time. You guys are a bunch of a small group of researchers crazily talking about AGI when everybody's laughing at that thought.
Wasn't that long ago Elon was crazily talking about launching rockets?
Yeah.
When people were laughing at that thought. So I think he'd have more empathy for this.
I mean, I do think that there's personal stuff here, that there was a split, that OpenAI and a lot of amazing people here chose to part ways with Elon. So there's a personal
Elon chose to part ways.
Can you describe that exactly? The choosing to part ways?
He thought OpenAI was going to fail. He wanted total control to sort of turn it around. We wanted to keep going in the direction that now has become OpenAI.
groceries are here, so I'm going to bring groceries in. Peace.